I'm Amber and today I'm going to be doing a weekly roundup. As you can tell, I have once again changed the format for my wrap-ups. When I went back to doing a monthly wrap-up, I realized that it was a very long video. I think it was 20 to 26 minutes long. I really don't like watching videos that get to that length, and I really don't feel like I should expect other people to watch my videos if they're that long. So I started thinking of how I was going to cut that down to hopefully a shorter length. Like, I don't mind if it gets to 10, maybe 14 minutes long, but any longer and I start to feel like I am expecting too much out of anybody who chooses to watch my videos. So I realized that the only way that was going to happen is if I went back to weekly wrap-ups. Now that I've explained this all very long-winded I'm going to jump into my roundup for this week. I'm just going to talk about all the books that I have read so far this month. I'm going to start with the two books that I had planned to read but changed my mind on. The first book that I had planned to read was Mackerel by Moonlight, written by William F. Weld. I got this for free, and so I really didn't care one way or another if I read this all the way or not. And when I tried to read this, the politics, the writing, the characters, everything about it just really didn't have anything to hold me into reading this. And I had a bit of a hope for this one because the title sounded kind of weird and everything, and instead it was just bland. Everything was kind of bland, and I really don't like the main character in this book. So I was just like, I'm not going to waste my time on this book, and I'm glad that I didn't buy it. The second book that I had planned to read was a library book that I borrowed and I do not have anymore, and that is Room by Emma Donoghue. I know that several people from the booktube community like this book, and I was kind of hoping that I would be one of those people. And when I tried to, I realized that one, there was a reason why I was very hesitant for so many years about this book, and two, that I had actually tried reading this book before. Either that I picked it up in the library already, or I read a couple of pages at the bookstore. One way or the other, I do feel like I had tried to read this book before, and I don't like the style. I didn't like the way it was written. There was just something off about it for me, and so I just chose not to even really try. Now on to books that I have actually read. The first book that I have read so far in the month of April is My Heart and Other Black Holes by Jasmine Warga. This book deals with depression, and so going into this, I was very interested to see how she was going to handle the subject, and she handled it pretty well. I felt that she described how the main character was dealing with depression very well. But the story itself, I feel, was a huge disappointment. This has insta-love in it. A few days in, and she's already like, I'm in love. And not only do I not like insta-love, I find it very unrealistic. She is dependent on her love for this guy in order to feel like she can live. She's like, oh, now I don't feel like killing myself because I love him. And that is just wrong to me. Nobody should be dependent on somebody else's love in order to want to live. He might not even love her, but she's like, I'm in love with him, so I can't kill myself. And I don't really see the logic in that, because it might motivate her to maybe prolong her life, but what happens if he doesn't love her back? What happens if he decides that he wants to break up with her? She's just going to go back to wanting to kill herself. It was twisted into a way where I felt that Azelle was dependent on this guy's love, or she was dependent on him being there in order for her to feel like she was going to be able to keep on living, or at least to feel like she didn't have to kill herself. So I had a lot of issues with the story, with the way it was handled. Everything was kind of rushed. I felt like for a 300-page book, there just wasn't enough there, and the issues just weren't really dealt with. I was only able to give My Heart and Other Black Holes 2.5 stars.
If you're curious as to why I'm in a different location, is because when I filmed the second part of my video, it got blurred somehow, and I don't know how that happened. That never happened before. And so I decided to re-film that part. And so let's just move to the next book, which was Thunderstruck by Erik Larson. This is a nonfiction history on Marconi and how his technology was used to capture Crippen. It's about both of their stories, and their stories are kind of interweaved between each other. They have their own parts and everything, and I really did not like this book. I got 30% in before I DNF'd it. I don't really like that he takes too long to get to the point, to any kind of point, and I really just didn't like that he kind of put his own opinion in there, and I feel like it was inappropriate considering that he's telling us the story of two people who are real. You know, it's their story. It'd be one thing if this was fiction, or if he was doing an essay on his opinions on it, but this isn't. He's telling you their story, so I feel like he should have kept himself out of the picture. I shouldn't have been able to hear him through it, and I did. So I just found that a little bit frustrating and inappropriate considering. So overall, I just felt that was kind of bothersome, and because it took too long for anything, and also this was a very tedious read. I almost felt like I was reading a school textbook. So overall, it was a huge disappointment, and I gave this book to my dad because I think this would be more interesting to him. The thing is, even if everything else was okay, I probably still wouldn't have liked this because I'm not really interested in the technology of Marconi's and everything like that. Just really didn't hold any interest. If he had focused more on Crippen and his mystery, I would have probably enjoyed that much more. The next book that I read is Oh Pioneers by Willa Cather. I do not have this book because it was a library book. I was disappointed with this one also because I felt like the writing style hindered my reading experience. When it came to her writing, I almost felt like I was reading a children's book, but the subject matter and everything felt like it was meant to be for an adult, which really definitely made it hard for me to read, just because I really didn't know where I was supposed to place this. Also, I never was able to connect with any of the characters, and a lot of that had to do with the fact that she would jump 3 years to 16 years, and she never really stuck with any time until the 16 years jump. But even then, I just felt like she never really dug into any of the topics that she brought up, and I really would have loved if she had stuff with the time where she told her brothers that she was going to keep the land and work it until it became more profitable, and she had showed us how she dealt with that struggle. I just felt like she never stuck with any one topic long enough for me to connect with her, with the characters, with the story, and I just kind of felt meh about the story on the whole, because overall the story never really had any kind of connection, and it did have potential to be really good for me because the story itself was interesting. So I gave this one 2.5 stars. Another library book that I picked up and read is The Museum of Extraordinary Things by Alice Hoffman. The book was filled with a lot of interesting historical facts. I felt like she was just regurgitating her research, and instead of it becoming a part of the plot and moving it and adding something to it, it was just there. And also, I feel like she threw a lot of shock value into the story to kind of hide the fact that she didn't really have a lot going on in her plot. Then you have the fact that there's insta-love, and it's not the typical YA kind of insta-love where, you know, at least they have, at least they know each other, at least they've talked, but this time it's like she sees the guy and automatically she's like, I'm in love. And although I figured it out that there is supposed to be like a magical realism aspect to their relationship, it doesn't work for me. It cannot override the fact that it is insta-love, and it's the worst kind of insta-love, and just no way. And not only that, they don't even meet till very late into the story. I'm 50% into the book and I still hadn't seen them meet each other at all. I really didn't appreciate that because this book is very short and they don't even meet until when? It's like too long. Then you have the fact that she goes from first person when she and the guy is kids, and then you have third person for when they're both adults. And not only that, she does italics for when they're kids, and I found that really just frustrating. I don't like italics, especially the fact that she did a whole chapters with italics, and that was kind of bothersome and a bit of a nuisance. Overall, this book and the story was just a huge mess, and there was just too much stuff going on with too little focus. At this point, I think that The Dove Keepers was a fluke. I love The Dove Keepers. I think it was an amazing story, but I haven't been able to find another one of her books that is actually as good as that one, or even better. So I am thinking that I am done trying to find another book of hers that I can enjoy. Museum of Extraordinary Things only got 2 stars, and that's just because her writing style is just as beautiful as ever. The next 2 books I'm going to talk about is The Lost Symbol by Dan Brown and Inferno. The Lost Symbol was very entertaining, very fast-paced, just as much of an exciting mystery thriller as the first 2 books in the Robert Langdon companion series. But I did find that he info-dumped a lot in this one. I was really surprised to see him doing that, considering the fact that he did a really good job in not doing that in the first 2. So it was just quite a shock to see that happening, and it was also very frustrating and annoying to have to deal with those parts because they were just very tedious to get through. Not only that, he was very repetitive. He would go into this very detailed summarization of things that had already happened a couple chapters previous, and those were just so unnecessary. Like, we know what happened, just get on to the reveal of what you realize. And overall, I found Langdon himself annoying just because his skepticism didn't really make sense, considering his experiences in the last 2 books, which would have at least made it so that he would have realized that even if you don't believe what's going on, that you at least know that you just need to go along with it until you can figure out the actual truth. Like, your experiences should have at least helped you figure that much out. And overall, it was just a disappointment in that area. It just, his writing, his way of dealing with Robert Langdon, it has definitely fallen to pieces, especially with Inferno. Now, it could be because I've been dealing with this freak sickness, which definitely is making it hard for me to read. I've been having this really huge headache for the past 3 days, so it could possibly be because of that I definitely was really frustrated with this one. But Robert Langdon was really not good in this one. The whole mystery and everything was so obvious. I figured it out right away. And I really didn't like that he used amnesia as a trope in this book. It just didn't work for me at all. So I didn't finish this, and I don't think that I will ever try it again. I liked The Lost Symbol, so I will definitely be keeping that, but I'm giving this one away. I gave The Lost Symbol 3.5 stars, and I didn't rate The Inferno because, of course, I didn't finish it. The last book that I read is The Green Mile by Stephen King. This book was actually made into a film, and when I read the book, I realized how close the film stuck to the book. Yeah, there are, like, the tiniest things changed to the story, to the timeline, but overall, they did a really good job in keeping close, which was actually really surprising considering the fact that they tend to change a lot of things to the story. And that just made me very happy. So when reading this book, it almost felt like a reread. But I did actually really enjoy the book, and mainly because of the writing style. I love that it felt like we were listening to Paul Edgecombe tell his story and everything like that. It was just really wonderful in that sense. The only real negative I have for this book is because this is a serialized novel, he just kind of put all the parts together and just gave it to you. He didn't actually like rewrite it so that the story was continuous. It was very disjointed in the fact that at the beginning of each section, you would have verbatim what happened at the end of the last section. So that in itself was a bit annoying, and I don't know if he's ever like went back to the Green Mile and rewrote it so that it was continuous. I want to know if he has actually went back and rewrote it so that it was, and if he has, I would definitely go and pick that one up and just be able to, just so I can be able to read it continuously and have it on my shelves. I really don't want this one on my shelves because I don't like the fact that it's kind of reiterations of the end of each of the sections. So, but overall it was enjoyable, and I loved the fact that the film stuck so close to the book. And therefore, I gave this one 4 stars.
The book that I'm currently reading is Jellicoe Road by Melina Marchetta. I am enjoying her writing style. The story itself, I'm not really sure how she's going to make this feel like a really good, strong story that's progressing, because this is a pretty short book. I read 100 pages in just an hour. It took a very short time. I don't feel like it would take me that long to actually finish this, but this is YA, and so far I'm okay with the story, but I don't know if it's my head, but everything kind of feels confusing. These whole war games confuses me, considering the fact that how do they get away with all this crap? I just don't really get to that. But she's trying to say this, the teachers try to stop it or what, I don't know. But overall, I just feel like it's kind of unrealistic that teenagers could get away with this. Taylor herself in her story with Hannah and everything is definitely interesting, and I will definitely be finishing this, but I don't really feel like the whole war games is all that realistic. I just can't really see them getting away with it, especially with how obvious it is. I just don't know how realistic it is, unless the teachers somehow are in on it. Like maybe they are. Like I just don't know. So we'll see where I stand by the time I finish this. I will be also starting The Goldfinch by Donna Tartt this week. So by Saturday, hopefully you'll be hearing a review on this one. That is all I have to talk to you today. If you've read any of these books, tell me down below what you thought of them. I would love to hear where you come from on any of these books. Thank you all so much for watching, and keep smiling.